The break-in happened at 2:47 a.m. Three armed intruders thought they were dealing with just another sleepy security guard. They saw a 58-year-old man in a cheap uniform sitting behind a desk. They had no idea they were about to face someone who had completed the most brutal military training in the world. The break-in happened at 2:47 a.m. Three armed intruders thought they were dealing with just another sleepy security guard. They saw a 58-year-old man in a cheap uniform sitting behind a desk. They had no idea they were about to face someone who had completed the most brutal military training in the world. The executives at Sterling Tower barely noticed Marcus. To them, he was just the night security guard. With his cheap uniform, quiet demeanor, and ordinary appearance, he didn't draw attention. But Marcus's past was anything but ordinary. 20 years ago, he'd served with Navy SEAL Team 6, one of the world's most elite military units. From Afghanistan to Iraq, from Somalia to Yemen, he'd carried out the most dangerous missions around the globe. Now he quietly protected an office building, and that gave him peace. At 2:30 a.m., Marcus spotted movement on one of the cameras. Three figures were approaching the building's rear entrance, black clothes, ski masks, weapons in their hands. Marcus assessed the situation without his heart rate increasing. 20 years of SEAL training kicked in. First breath control, then situational awareness, then strategy development. "Dispatch, this is Marcus," he said into his radio. "Security breach at Sterling Tower. 3 armed suspects attempting to enter the building." "Copy that, Marcus. Police units are en route. Find a safe place to hide, and don't try to intervene." Marcus smiled. Finding a safe place to hide. That wasn't in the SEAL vocabulary. The attackers forced the back door and entered. Marcus watched their movements on the cameras. They weren't professionals, but they were armed and determined. They were probably targeting the safes in the upper floor companies. "Hey, where's the security guard?" one of them shouted. "Should be downstairs. Let's go deal with him first." Marcus stood up. Under his uniform, he carried a small pocket knife he'd kept for years, but his real weapon was his body. The 3 attackers took the elevator down. Marcus met them in the lobby. They had guns in their hands, masks on their faces, violence in their eyes. "Old man, stay right there," shouted the leader. "Hands up." Marcus slowly raised his hands, but his eyes were analyzing everything. The guy on the left was nervous, finger trembling on the trigger. The leader in the middle was calmer but overconfident. The one on the right was young, probably his first job. "Good old-timer. Now open the safe and don't cause any trouble."
"Are you kidding us?" The leader pointed his gun at Marcus. "The company safe's upstairs. Give us the keys." Marcus shook his head. "Sorry, I don't have the keys to those safes. Each company has its own security system." "You're lying." The guy on the left stepped forward. "You're the security guard. You should have all the keys." Marcus looked at them. They were young, inexperienced. They were probably acting based on what they'd seen in movies. "Listen, kids," Marcus said, a fatherly tone in his voice. "Get out of here. Police are on their way. You can still escape before you get caught." "Shut up, old man," the leader yelled. "You're just a security guard sitting at a desk. Don't tell us what to do." Marcus smiled. "You're right. I'm just a security guard." The leader, Sean, was 26 years old. He'd spent his life dealing drugs, but lately things had gone bad. This robbery was going to be his big break. "All right, old man. Game over." Sean stepped even closer to Marcus. "Either you help us or—" Marcus's movement was so fast that Sean didn't understand what happened. Suddenly his gun was on the floor, his arm twisted behind his back, and he felt cold metal in his mouth. Marcus had taken Sean's pistol and was pointing it at him. The movement was so silent and fluid that the other 2 attackers froze for a moment. "First lesson," Marcus said calmly. "Never get that close to your target." Sean's eyes filled with fear. This old man's gun was now pressed against his head. "Second lesson," Marcus continued. "Never underestimate your opponent." Marcus released Sean and stepped back. But the gun was still with him. Control was still his. "Now I'm going to tell you who I am," Marcus said. "My name is Marcus Thompson, former Navy SEAL Team 6. The other 2 attackers, Jake and Tommy, stared at Marcus in shock. Navy SEAL. This was something they'd only seen in movies. "Are Navy SEALs real?" Tommy, the youngest one, asked. Marcus pulled out his keychain. The small trident emblem gleamed in the light. "This is the Navy SEAL trident. To earn it, you have to complete BUDS training. You have to survive something called Hell Week. Only 20% make it through Hell Week," Marcus continued. 5 days, 4 hours of sleep, constant cold water, constant physical strain, constant mental pressure. Sean still stared at Marcus. Are you really a Navy SEAL?" "I served for 20 years, 1995 to 2015. Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, Yemen. I served in the most dangerous places in the world." Marcus lowered the gun, but stayed alert. "Let me tell you something, kids. I've faced real bad guys in my life. You're not bad. You're just making wrong choices."
Jake stepped forward. "But we're armed too. You're one person. We're 3. Marcus shook his head. "Jake, right? I'm looking at your gun on the left. Safety's off, but it's not loaded. Tommy's gun is plastic. Sean's was real, but now it's with me." The 3 attackers looked at each other in shock. How had this man noticed all of this at once? "Let me tell you a story," Marcus said, leaning against the desk. 2008, Afghanistan, Kandahar region. My team and I were on a rescue operation. We had to rescue 3 captured American soldiers. The enemy house was heavily guarded. 12 armed men, automatic weapons, grenades. Marcus's eyes drifted to the past. My team and I entered that house. 6 Navy SEALs against 12 enemies. The operation lasted 47 minutes. No civilians were harmed. We rescued our 3 soldiers. The enemies were neutralized. Sean's voice trembled. Did you kill them?" Marcus looked at him. "Sean, war is a terrible thing, but sometimes you have to fight to defend what's right. That night we saved the lives of 3 American soldiers." "So what are you going to do to us now?" Tommy asked. Marcus thought. "Now I'm going to give you an option." Marcus placed the gun on the desk. The 3 attackers stared at him in shock. "I'm giving you 2 choices," Marcus said. "First option, the police come, they arrest you. You get 10-15 years for attempted armed robbery. Second option, you leave here now, you get a second chance, but in return you make me a promise." Sean looked suspicious. "What promise?" "That you'll really try to turn your lives around. You'll look for jobs, stay away from crime." Jake laughed. "It's that easy. You're a Navy SEAL. You're just going to let us go." Marcus stood up. "Jake, as a Navy SEAL I learned this. Sometimes the real victory is preventing the war. You're 3 young men. Sean, you're 26. Jake, you're 24. Tommy, you're 22. You still have your whole lives ahead of you." Marcus walked toward them. "But if you continue on this path, in 5 years you'll either be in prison or dead." Tommy started crying. I was just trying to pay for my mom's medicine." Marcus approached him. "Tommy, what happened to your mom?" "Cancer. She needs chemotherapy, but our insurance won't cover it. I didn't know what to do." Marcus put his hand on Tommy's shoulder. "Tommy, what kind of cancer does your mom have?" "Breast cancer. The doctor said it's treatable, but very expensive." Marcus thought. "I know a place. There's a free cancer clinic near the VA hospital. They serve civilians through Veterans Affairs, too." Tommy was amazed. "Really?" "Really. Go there tomorrow morning and talk to them. Tell them about your mom's situation." "Sean, I don't know. I'm a high school graduate, but I have no experience. Have you thought about the security sector? If you have a clean record, you can get training." Jake also looked hopeful. "What about me?" "What can you do, Jake?" "I know about cars, repair stuff." Marcus smiled. 3 blocks from here is Tony's auto repair shop. He's an old Marine. Tell him I sent you." The 3 young men looked at each other. An hour ago, they'd come to commit armed robbery. Now they were getting help to turn their lives around. "But why?" Sean asked. "Why are you helping us?" "We came to rob you." Marcus sat down. "Sean, as a Navy SEAL I learned this. Our mission isn't just to defeat the enemy. It's to preserve peace. You're not enemies. You're just young men who've lost their way. Marcus touched the trident on his keychain. This emblem taught me not just to fight, but to protect. Tonight I'm protecting you from yourselves. Tommy was still crying. We were making such a big mistake. Tommy, Marcus said, making mistakes is human. What matters is learning from them. Police sirens could be heard from outside. They were getting closer. Marcus stood up. I think you'll want to leave now. What will you tell the police when they get here? Jake asked. False alarm. There was a malfunction in the security system. The next morning, as soon as Marcus finished his shift, he took Tommy to the VA hospital. There really was a free cancer clinic, and Tommy's mom could be treated. He talked to Sean about security training. Marcus wrote him recommendation letters. He introduced Jake to Tony's repair shop. Tony really was an old Marine and liked Jake's enthusiasm. A week later, the three young men visited Marcus again, but this time not to commit crimes, but to thank him. Mr. Thompson, Tommy said, my mom's treatment has started. The doctors say her chances of recovery are very high. Sean was also smiling. I got accepted into security training. I'll be a licensed security guard in 2 months. Jake added, Tony hired me. I'm starting as an apprentice, but I'm very excited to learn. Marcus smiled with pride as he listened to them. That night, as Marcus sat at his desk at Sterling Tower, he was thinking. For 8 years he'd protected this building, but last night he'd protected not just the building, but the future of 3 young men. He looked at the Navy SEAL trident on his keychain. This small piece of metal reminded him, once a SEAL, always a SEAL. The mission didn't end, it just changed. Now Marcus wasn't just protecting a building, he was protecting society, protecting young people, protecting hope. The phone rang. It was the dispatcher. Marcus, was it quiet tonight? Marcus smiled. Yes, very quiet. But he knew this quiet was thanks to his 20 years of Navy SEAL training and experience. And from now on, he would continue to protect this building, this city, and everyone he encountered. Because real heroes don't retire, they just change missions. 6 months later, a small ceremony was held at Sterling Tower. Marcus Thompson was being given the Security Guard of the Year award. But the real surprise was that Tommy, Sean, and Jake were also at the ceremony. All 3 had turned their lives around. Tommy's mom was recovering, and he was now volunteering at the hospital. Sean had become a licensed security guard and started working at the same company as Marcus. Jake was progressing rapidly at Tony's repair shop and had decided to study automotive mechanics. During his speech, Marcus said, Real security isn't just about protecting buildings. Real security is about protecting people, protecting hope, protecting futures. As a Navy SEAL, I served around the world, but the most valuable thing I learned is this. Sometimes the greatest victories are won in the smallest moments. That night, I saved the lives of 3 young men, but actually, they saved my life too. They reminded me that my mission wasn't over yet. Everyone in the hall stood up and applauded. Marcus touched the trident on his keychain. 20 years later, he still carried it with the same pride. Because being a Navy SEAL isn't just about getting training. Being a Navy SEAL is adopting a life philosophy. And that philosophy is never leave a teammate behind, never give up, and always fight for something better. Marcus Thompson hadn't left those 3 young men behind that night. He'd saved them, and from now on, he would continue to do the same for everyone he encountered. Because a real security guard protects not just the building, but society. And a real Navy SEAL knows that sometimes the best way to win a war is not to fight it. The moral of this story, appearances can be deceiving. That ordinary security guard might be one of the world's most trained soldiers. That old janitor might have once saved lives. Show respect to everyone because everyone has a story, and sometimes that story can save you.